I'm here.
The last time I interviewed you, you were about to launch Slicker on Life.
Yes.
A few years ago.
Like 12 years ago.
Imagine 12 years ago, and now it's a huge brand.
Yeah. You know, we are working.
I remember I remember when I was asking you, we were talking about how new this thing is and how it's going to change the face of the industry. And now it has taken over, and Slicker on Life is one of the big platforms. It's also motivating some of us to take ourselves more serious in terms of the media. How did you achieve that success in the last 12 years?
I mean, I think it's really taking from everything that even guys like you did. You know, for me, I always ask myself, what kept you guys doing like Iguaito? You understand? And there's a big lesson is that sometimes you are not the one that will be the biggest, but you are the one that will literally create the path for others who will benefit, you know. So you have to find out who are you in the ecosystem of the world, you know. And I think I've planted seeds multiple times. So I don't do it to become the biggest. I do it because it's like a calling. I mean, what made you just not dance only, you know, and do dance competitions? What made you pursue and when producing was a thing that was far-fetched? What made you do that? You don't know. So sometimes you just like be comfortable with the things you don't know, you know?
You know, the funniest thing is, I looked at Square Campus, this big brand. But out of that brand, there was a lot of brands that came out. You know, I don't want to talk about those things because I don't want to take away the work of the Creative Synergy. We are here at the Creative Synergy, and I saw you participating. What was your contribution here? Was it through Slicker himself alone or Slicker on Life as well?
I'm here I'm on a panel speaking about AI. So I think the next thing that I'm really bringing in the creative space with my creativity and innovation, the next new thing, when you speak to me in the next 10 years, I'm bringing finance into the creative space. So I've already got a financial platform that I've built. You know, I've started doing deals with, I've got a deal with like Visa, you know. So we're building something that literally could be the center of finance for creativity, firstly, and then once creativity has got its own center of finance, it doesn't have to be looking for partners because everyone that banks with the bank is listening to piano, is listening to hip hop, is going to a concert. Most people are, or they buy, if they can't go, they're buying something related to what like people like us or people who are now in the lead are creating. So I don't understand. I just never understood why the people who bank them are not interested in their interest. They're just interested in one interest, which is, you know, your life, your funeral, your this. They don't look at everything. So I think that we approaching fixing music the wrong way. We keep on trying to fix music with music when we need to fix music with money. And if we're going to fix music and creativity, then firstly we got to literally create our own hub of finance where people who support us are literally like using a platform that's ours so we can plow back into those.
I'm glad that you're doing this interview in front of AJ. AJ, I've told you many times how intelligent this man is. Now it's about this time this country honors him. Can you see he's now looking at 10 years from now, which is something that I was telling them that 12 years ago, I interviewed you and you were talking about this platform. And no one in this country was doing this. Now, 10 years going ahead, you are already coming up with this platform. And I still say it's an honor for me standing next to you. I know I've been I've been there before you, but you've just got a certain strange brain. I don't know. Where did you get this brain?
You know, I genuinely love what I do, you know, and the world hasn't accepted and embraced me. The corporate world hasn't accepted me and embraced me. The school world hasn't embraced. So for me, I'm just as important as an academic. I'm just as important as a lawyer. I'm important as all these people, but I create. So how do I create structure so other people who come in my place, if I'm saying I'm creating a bank, there'll be a creator who's into numbers. I mean, you signed Lyra. She was an accountant, but she was an accountant for a company that doesn't care about music. So imagine you're an accountant or you're a finance or you're a treasurer inside a business that actually cares about music. And that's what slickonlife.za was like, how can we create a media with someone who actually cares about music? That's why all the young kids who work for me, then they started doing, I mean, platforms like Creative Corner, all those kids were working inside Slick on Life in the beginning.
I was saying to people, I always say this to people, that Slicker is doing more for this country when it comes to this urban young market more than the government does. And I might be wrong, but for me, looking at it statistically, I see a lot of input that you have for this industry, and I would like to say thanks on behalf of them. And I look at your platform all the time. I see what you're doing for the industry, and good luck on your work, my brother.
I haven't started. I'm just saying. I haven't started. All I've done now, I've done everything that could be duplicated, which was start a seed. When we start making a difference, is when we are in the center of the money. You see, the only thing I keep listening to here, even when we come to things like these, it's always about someone should be doing this, someone should, but we know everything is about bottom line. Where's the business? Where's the return? Do you know what I mean? And this is what, like, we're not having business conversations. We're having creativity conversations. So creativity conversations will lead you with, I need more money again, while business conversations will need to lead to sustainability. And there are creatives who you can teach that this is what we mean by return. This is how you got to work on return. You'll hear on my chat with AI. The best way to use AI for creators is that creators don't need to learn anything. Create AI that learns that, okay, you've just released your song. When your song dropped, automatically, if you put in your name, we know that, like, it automatically speaks to Samro, Capasso, that. So AI does that. And then it automatically then puts your money back in. So now a guy doesn't have, he just has to drop a song and load it in a system that literally talks to everything that they say the guy doesn't know or needs to learn. And the guy will just get a lot of money and say, where's this money from? It doesn't matter if he doesn't know, it's his.
Wow. But are they hearing you?
Well, I'm going to be saying that in the AI chat, though. I've spoken to Gayton McKenzie, and I'm going to name drop him, and I've spoken to him, but, respectfully, his enthusiasm for the arts is great, but I don't think it's the enthusiasm that's sustainable. And I say this not of. I say this as a guy who's built a 10-year business. My business, Lick on Life, has been around for 15 years. It's turned over 100 million. You know what I mean? I did this myself. So I'm not talking from, I'm trying to, and I know he's a business, but I don't think Gayton is listening to the sustainability. And I'm saying this honestly, because I've literally had a chat with him. We talked to talk, never answered. And I'm saying, Gayton, I know he's got a good heart, but this is how we build sustainability. And he's not making time, he's constantly addressing the things that we've been addressing for 20 years, which will always like need and not sustain. People will always not have the education for like how with the money but how do you build something that sustains permanently? And that's what we need to be talking about. We shouldn't worry about AI. We should say, how are we creating new systems so we work together? So when a new AI comes, all we're doing, we've created information system that streams down information. And now 20 people know about it, so we're safe. Then things, now 40 people. That's what we need to be. How are we streaming down information that will help us? Not how we're trying to figure how you need to give me. How do we stream down information? You know? And I wish Gayton could make the time. But you see, I know
I'm
he's
going. No, I'm going to challenge you. I
Yeah.
need to sit down with you for 1 hour because I need to break down what you're talking about so that we take the tape and say this is what we've been discussing. We are not saying any bad things, but
No,
this
no,
is
no,
a
no.
plea from the industry.
By the way, Gayton when he's done good things for me just as a guy. So I'm not I know he's got a good heart and I know he's got a different mind. And I think he's the only guy that I've known who probably could see the sustainability. But yeah, he just hasn't been available to do it.
He's given football VAR, so he must give us AI.
That's it.
Thank you.
Let's go. Let's go. Thank
That's
you.
Slicker. Like I told you guys that you can give Slicker the microphone and he can go on and on for the next 2 days because he's got ideas for days. Talk to Mr. Kalumbu from Great Lakes Media. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I always see you at all these beautiful events. What are you doing, Marawena?
Um, so we run a film and television production company. We do TV commercials, TV programs, branded content, and basically story ideas. We develop ideas and turn them into stories. So our partners is different broadcasters and advertising agencies and a few corporate companies that we do branded content and stuff that we do.
Any notable clients or movies, in fact, or productions
I
that
mean,
you've done?
we done stuff for Netflix, SABC, EVOD, which is the ETV. So some of the stuff I think you've seen on Netflix, like Magenta Core, Family, what is it? What is it called? Yeah, it was called The Happy Family. Some from EVOD is
So you are busy. You are busy. That's why every event, I chill with you, but we just talk about random things. Now I know I need to start talking about serious things. Maybe you might do my documentary.
wow. Okay, are you working on it?
I'm trying to. I mean, I'm trying to.
How come you haven't done it already?
This is South Africa.
No, it's not. I think you have.
You are even asking me. You are a production company.
You are full on production. You are live. I don't know why you haven't done it.
I tell people that I always say this. I can't tell my story. I can give you inputs, but somebody has to lead the production of telling my story.
Yeah, because you are a story yourself.
Exactly.
Yes.
Tell me, here at the Creative Synergy, what is it that you would say you've gained?
I think it's I think the creative sector across all the mediums, television, film, magazines, internet, podcasts, and so forth. It's a billion rand industry, but we don't see where the money goes. We don't see how the money is spent. We don't see the value in the production, and I think here is I think to trying to do the link to say how can we be part of the value chain, the value chain from the ideas to being broadcasters to running production houses and doing production to actors to doing music. That whole value chain, it's a billion rand industry.
I
So
think I think we have, you know, yeah, I hear you about the value chain, but we are big contributors. But the thing is, it's not synergized. We don't have a data that we can give to somebody and say, there's so many production companies. This is how much they're making, but there is money being made. There are people making the money. Because I'm trying to correct the segment where you say you don't know where the money is going. It's going, but yes, it needs to be put in statistics, maybe.
yeah, but I think also maybe to open the market so that I think the market is more accessible. The market is more that we can actually quantify it. Because right now the market, I don't, as much as we have a great market in South Africa, but for example in television, I think the players is Mnet, Netflix, who are big players. And then if you look at from the digital point of view, you have Media 24 and so forth. So we're trying to find a balance to say how do we create platforms that it becomes easier to have access into the market that anybody can be able to benefit from being independent. So to say if you're not independent, if you're independent, it's harder to get into the spaces that you're in because you're not endorsed by your multi-choice platforms or your Netflix or your SABC and so forth and so forth. So I think the point of being here is to meet other like-minded people who are also like your brand South Africa, your proudly South African, just to find synergies to say how do we help each other to tell these stories, how do we create the content that we can create value out of.
But would you encourage events like Creative Synergy to continue?
Yeah. I think so, but I think maybe just more inclusive of the people that are practitioners in the industry, so that we have more case studies of what is really going on. Because I think everything is pretty much being covered over the top, so it's not in the meat of it. Because even Proudly South African or Brand SA being here, they sort of like say, this is what we do, this is what we do. But I think we need to get into the meat and the cracks of it to say, how does it work? How do we do? How does the funding work? If you are presenting South Africa as an image to the global space, how are you taking that brand across, and how are you doing it? How do the markets work, and so forth? I think, but we need it. Small steps, but I think we'll get there eventually.
Mr. Kalunda, it was nice talking to you, and I hope the organizers are listening to you, and next year they will make it bigger and better, and maybe at a bigger venue and have more breakaway sessions. Welcome back. We are still at the Creative Synergy. My name is Sathama Fukate on TLL, the Lifestyle League, and I'm talking to Mr. Mshutulu from the city of Joburg.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Hola.
Hola, hola.
They must know that this is the city of Joburg. We've got too many languages, and yeah, we can even say hola if we want to.
Or even away.
Away to the directors. Yo, imagine saying away to the directors. This is the only language he uses outside, but not inside the offices. So be careful what you say to him.
No, the city of Johannesburg is a very diverse city. It's one of the most diverse cities in the world. And I think that it doesn't happen incidentally. You know, it is because of how we have positioned the city from the economic perspective, but also from a cultural perspective. The contribution that the city of Johannesburg makes is one that makes it possible for people to pursue their aspirations and dreams within the city. And from a cultural perspective, I think it is very important for us as a city to continue positioning ourselves in that way. And it is for this reason that we are part of the Cnergy, Creative Cnergy conference, which is an important platform for conversation, for reflection, and even for looking forward, you know, forecasting what are the things that we should be doing to reposition the city and the country better as a catalyst for the creative and cultural economy.
You are the number one city in Africa, and do you ever sit down and actually reflect and realize how big a city you are, and you keep trying to attract more people into the city? How are you going to manage this whole creative industry should everybody want to come to the city?
We're a world-class African city, and we don't want to confine ourselves to competition in the continent because we don't have much. But I think the city of Johannesburg is a leader globally amongst many other cities, major cities in the world. And even if you were to compare us with cities in the global south, you might find that we fare very well because the systems and the ecosystem that we have within the Johannesburg cultural and creative economy compares with cities in the global north. And this is particularly because as a city, we have invested in infrastructure, you know, that compares with major cities in the world, whether it's New York, San Francisco, or even Berlin, you know. And we still have the character of an African city from a cultural fiber perspective. And our contribution in terms of the various subsectors of the creative industries are also important because we play across all the disciplines of the creative and cultural economy. And this is what makes the city of Johannesburg unique in its proposition as a unique selling point, but also as an important contribution, not just to the city, but to the country as a whole.
What would you say you have gained for the city here at the Creative Synergy, listening to everybody and looking at the product that you have, which is the city of Joburg?
I think one of the things that we've done well as a city of Johannesburg is to present and demystify the wrong perceptions about government. You know, people think that if you're in government, you necessarily don't know anything about the sector. I think we have demystified that myth because we know a lot about the sector. And that is a testament in the way that we curate our programs, in the way that we curate our interventions in stimulating growth and development within the creative industries. And secondly, I think we were also able to bring in a level of appreciation for the immense contribution that government does in South Africa. I mean, one of the points that we made earlier on was that the government contribution and investment, the South African government that is incomparable if you look at the other governments in the continent, you know. But also if you look at against what other governments are doing in terms of investment in the cultural and creative industries. And we looked at three important, markers for that. And the first one was the extent to which we have a policy and regulatory environment, particularly a legislative environment, that enables the growth and sustainability of the industry. Secondly, if you look at the quantum of funding and financing that is available within the cultural and creative industry, purely on government, forget what the private sector is doing. So and this funding is not just direct funding to enterprises within the industry, but also creating infrastructure, enabling environments, a thriving space for live events, for venues, for audience development, for a market that consumes cultural goods and services from the country. And lastly, also in terms of what the country has done from a skills development perspective. In the world, I don't know many governments where the creative industries is central to the industrial policy of that country. And in South Africa, if you look at the National Industrial Policy Framework Act, the creative industry is recognized as one of the important contributors to the economy. And this is just what government has been doing and doing. And we are not saying there are no challenges. Of course, one of the other points we've made where we can improve is really trying to solidify our intellectual property regime. We've also made the point about how we restructure our funding models so that they are not consumptive and they are not structured in a way that perpetuates dependency, but they are structured in a way that stimulate growth and sustainability.
You mentioned something. I know there's not the right platform to be discussing this, but that we as creatives always assume that you guys don't understand what you're doing. And if you sit and look at what you guys are doing, it's always embarrassing for us to sometimes say, you guys don't know what you're doing, because we found programs existing, and those programs are still existing. And one program comes to mind, which is the Arts Alive. Yes. It's been there. I don't know if it's still existing, but it used to be one of the biggest programs. And some of us grew up through the Arts Alive, and we still see those kinds of programs. But one day we wake up and we just tend to hurl insults saying, you guys don't know what you're doing. Yeah. What causes that, though?
It should be embarrassing that you don't know that Arts Alive is still happening. I mean, we delivered one of the largest flagship programs of Arts Alive, which was Jazz in the Lights, just last week. And many of the people who were there will tell you it was a formidable, well-curated program. Arts Alive is now in its 33rd year this year. So it's been 33 years of consistent investment in the arts, through Arts Alive. And we say confidently 33 years because even during COVID, one of the things that we have done differently as a city was not to shut down. And I know this might sound like we were defying, the laws. No. But what we did is that we curated, events without audiences that still allowed creatives, crews, to generate an income, because then we created a performance platforms that we could stream. We created content that we could stream where we have had discussions, and we would pay creatives so that they are also able to generate an income. And as a city, we've always been intentional about not giving out funding without value, So we believe that creatives, they feel more that their dignity is intact when they give you value for what you pay them. And this is how we have been approaching the development in the cultural and creative industry. So even throughout COVID, we managed to create a lot of performance and income generating opportunities. But what that did is that it didn't just put food on the tables of the creatives, but it also allowed them to express themselves so that they don't get depressed by all of this creative energy that gets, contained within them, and they can't even express it. So Arts Alive is really an important platform, and we have expanded Arts Alive beyond just performing arts. It is now a program that also looks at other disciplines of the creative industries. We look at visual arts, we look at craft, we look at design, and to an extent, we also look at capacity building, looking at creative writing, intellectual property awareness, and so on. So there's a lot that we have done to reconfigure and reimagine Arts Alive as a total offering, and we call it an assemblage of artistic offerings, because now it has become really an assemblage of artistic offerings for the sector.
Wow. Don't ever dare try and challenge Mr. Mshutu because he knows his story. And, talking about the city of Joburg, he can talk for days. And, we just don't have time. And we're going to pose a challenge like we did with the other two CEOs from Brand SA and Proudly South African. We challenge him to come join us for an hour so that we can break it down to tell us what is this thing that makes the city of Joburg tick when it comes to the creative and cultural industries. Siyabonga.
Sibonge kakhulu. No, we accept the challenge. We will make ourselves available. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mshudul, and good luck. Hi and welcome. We are still here at the Creative Synergy. My name is Sathama Fukate on TLL, the Lifestyle League, and I'm talking to Sis Mulatelo.
Yes, yes, I am Latelo Bosman. I am a filmmaker from Tzaneen in Limpopo province.
All the way from Limpopo, coming to the Creative Synergy. Why?
Oh yes, we got invited actually because this session here talks to what we do.
It's huge, and you must also state that you are with the MEC.
Oh yes, we brought our MEC, Honorable Sheriff Funani Maseko. He was here with us this morning. So yeah, that's how important this session is, because it's a high time now that we start commercializing the creative sector. So we came here literally just to hear from those who've been around, as we also, in Limpopo, the film, as a filmmaker myself, the film industry is still in its infancy. So being here and listening to people talk and the numbers that they are quoting and the jobs that are being created by the film industry. So, going back home, we're really gonna start, okay, we have started working already. So we know how to then pick up ourselves and, let's get the film industry growing, not just locally, but internationally as well.
I love that this Creative Synergy event has also inspired you, and going back home, you know that you are going to start applying some of the things that they've discussed. You are also a member of the Limpopo Arts
and
Council.
Culture Council, yes. We got appointed last year in August. And it's for the first time, Arthur, that, film is being represented on the LACC. And it's an honor, but also a challenge for me, because it's really gonna be a long 3 years of hard work and making sure that by the time I complete my tenure there, work is, not just work is done, but there must be visible changes in the industry. And we have started, by the way. For the first time, I attended my own film premiere at Stekeneko, Mall of the North, on the 14th of March. We had a red carpet event. We invited the who's who came to witness the film that I just completed.
And I was not invited.
And you
And
were not
I saw you were
invited.
displaying the film outside, and that's got me attracted. And I started saying, who's this person with this brand? I want to interview them. How did it come about that you end up having a movie all the way from Tzaneen?
Wow, it's part of showcasing what Limpopo has to offer. You see where KZN is. You will see where Eastern Cape is, Western Cape and Gauteng. But other provinces are still lagging behind. And this mainly is to say Limpopo is next. And, for us to have our MEC here, that's a bold statement. That's a bold statement. And I must say that, 6 kings and 6 queens is coming to Gauteng and you'll be invited.
I was about to ask, it's talking about 6 kings and 6 queens, and I know there's a queen in Limpopo, Honalebu Queen Mojaji, and I'm trying to understand, what's the movie about?
It's exactly about that. You know,
Wow.
it took me 11 years to make. And initially, it's a documentary film. So initially, I thought I was telling this brilliant story of the rich history of Balobedu Kingdom that, is the only African monarch that is ruled by women. Arguably so. So I wanted to tell that story. But unfortunately, I could not ignore the tug of war that is currently underway within the royal family. So when you watch the film, you see, the customs, the rich history of how these queens will also marry wives, because we also profile the wives coming from Queen Kisatwani the third. And they're still alive. And you have Queen Makoma the Fourth. The wives are still alive. So we feature them in that film, and we get to hear from the horse's mouth how is it to be the queen's wife. But we also touch on the tug of war that is currently going on between the royal siblings.
So you are saying in that movie we get to understand why the queen marries the queen.
100%.
Wow. So I can't wait to have that movie.
Yes, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. I'll definitely make sure you're there.
Okay, but it's just still launched in Limpopo at the moment.
At the
It's
moment.
not yet countrywide.
Not yet. We're still in talks with the distributor that I can self-distribute, but I'm not an expert.
I saw Netflix here.
Yes, we'll be
You're
having
going
a
to
chat.
talk. So I can see that you didn't come all the way for nothing. And the fact that you are accompanied by the MEC, I've seen the CEO of Brand SA, the CEO of Proudly South Africa, and mark my words, you are the only province outside Gauteng that came here.
Oh yeah, and I'm so proud. I'm so proud of that. Like, when I saw my MEC on the program after the minister also, I was like, okay, really, as a member of the LACC, it gives me that courage to say our leaders are listening.
Wouldn't you also say this LACC is different?
Oh yeah, everyone says that.
No, thanks a lot, Asblatel, and congratulations, and I can't wait to see the movie. I'm standing next to the CEO of Proudly South Africa, Mr. Mashimji. Hola.
Itaboso.
How are you, Bosso?
I'm good, thank you yourself.
Good. Proudly South Africa.
Yeah, look, we're a buy local campaign, and the intention behind having a campaign like ours is to ensure that people support that which is made in South Africa, irrespective of what it is. It can be a bed that you sleep in, it can be the car you drive, it can be the content that you watch on TV, the music that you listen to, whatever it is that you're streaming. It can be the food that you consume. The easiest thing is the clothes you wear.
I was about to say, most of the time when we see real proudly South African products, it's always through fashion, and obviously it would be music. And I would always say the kind of football that we play. But, beyond that, what are the other things that you'd say are produced in South Africa that are standing out?
Look, it's everything. The music stands out. Amapiano stands out. Kwaito with you stood out. Before you, Bubblegum stood out. Yeah. All of that is local content. I spoke earlier on about what is on the prime TV channels between 6 to 10. That's prime time. It's local content. Go to Mzansi Magic, go to SABC 1, 2, 3. It's local content during that time. That stands out because that is what we're consuming. And so outside of the fashion, there's things like furniture. If you think of the cars, we have 7 OEMs who make cars in South Africa. So the next time you see a C-Class, you must look at it differently because it's made in South Africa with South African hands, with a lot of components and spares in that car coming from South Africa. So there's a lot. And it's basically everywhere and everything. It's just a matter of checking the country of origin label. If the country of origin label says made in whatever country, you're supporting jobs in that country. But if it says made in South Africa, you've created jobs here.
Yeah, nice intro. You are here at the Creative Synergy. What's your role as Proudly South Africa?
Look, our role is to cast a spotlight on the value chain that is involved in this industry. People think that if I go and I listen to a Tyler ICU song, it's about him only. But there are many people, there's people who are involved in the production. And every time he's booked at that festival, there's security, there's catering, the sound engineers, and the value chain is just extensive. If you think of a film and TV production, those who are part of the development, the script writers, and those who are part of the actual production, even the makeup artists and the wardrobe people, and the scorers who do the music, and those who then take it and distribute it, and over and above the crew and the cast. There are many others, even outside of the production, that benefit. And so that was the intention, to say, can we cast a spotlight on the importance of this industry? I mean, the numbers we saw this morning say there's 1 million people employed in this industry. But outside of this 1 million people that are directly employed in this creative, in the broader creative industry, there are other industries that benefit. I mean, the example we gave this morning is of Shaka Ilembe. When they shot Shaka Ilembe, they had 10,000 people as extras. They had 900 people that were part of the cast and crew. They had 250 people who were part of the cast. But outside of that, because it was shot in Gauteng and KZN, the hospitality industry benefited. The airlines industry benefited. The hotels and B&Bs and lodges where all of these people stayed benefited. The manufacturing industry that manufactured all of that which they used to wear, that everything that was used on the set benefited. So the intention was to really come and say this industry is important. Even in the broader context of other industries that are seen to be labor intensive, this industry feeds into each and every one of those industries.
I saw you participating at the Summer Awards, and I saw the logo for the first time, and I said, wow, they are going the right direction. At what point do we have to see the proudly South African logo on our South African products?
Look, you see South Africa, you see the proud South African logo on anything that is made in South Africa, anything that represents the best of what South Africa has to offer. Because if you look at the logo, it's made up of the colors of the flag of South Africa, telling you that whatever you're about to consume or see is South Africa. So the South African Music Awards is about South African music. But the tick on the logo tells you that it's a high quality product. And the summers are about celebrating the best of South African music. It's about those who've excelled within that period. During the period that is adjudicated over. And so that's why we will always participate. Resources don't necessarily give us the opportunity to participate everywhere, but where there's an opportunity to have partnerships, we're able to go and participate and invest where we can, but we have minimal resources. But as long as the celebration is about ensuring that that which comes out of South Africa is given support in one way or another, we will always be there.
Wow. I always say some of us know the difference between Brand SA and Proudly SA, but what would you, in simpler terms, say is the difference?
Proudly SA focuses on the products that come out of the country. It's about what comes out of the country, who consumes it, can we get them to choose local when they buy. And Brand SA is about selling the country itself, the country brand. It's about what over and above the products that we have on offer is available to be showcased to the country. It's about ensuring that when people look at South Africa, they see it as a country that they want to associate with, whether by way of investment or visiting as a tourist. But when they get here, what is it that they're consuming? When they get here as an investor, we hope they do not come with finished products. They set up a factory and they make stuff here. Not set up a warehouse and bring products here that are finished. And so that's where Proudly South African comes in. So, and that's why there's that symbiotic relationship between us and them, is that when we eventually get people to come here, we must ensure that the products that are consumed and the products that ultimately go into the market, especially within the borders of South Africa, are made in South Africa.
Lastly, the people that have attended the Creative Synergy, what would you advise them to do going forward?
Look, the first thing that I spoke about is the fact that at a policy level, we need to see more support for this industry. Some say we need more incentives so that there's funding available. Some are saying we need to see deliberate uptake, intentional uptake from consumers. If you go and you stream a South African production on a pirated site, you are not helping us. We have a country with more than 50% of youth who are eligible to be in employment, who are unemployed. And as a result, we need to find ways to ensure that since this industry is able to absorb a lot of them, we support this industry so that more and more of them can be employed in this sector. And for those who are attending who are not necessarily at a policy decision-making space, I asked those who are in music to ensure that when they watch TV, they watch local content. And those who go out and spend money, go to theaters and watch South African productions. That when people go to the stores and they're buying clothes as wardrobe assistants or responsible for wardrobe for film and television and theater, that what they put on screen as clothes that are worn by those who are behind the screens is made in South Africa. So it starts with us. Coming here and complaining about not getting support when you are not supporting your sister industries is the first problem that needs to be resolved. And that was my plea to everyone who's here who's not necessarily responsible for policy.
Wow, the CEO is hard hitting, and there's a lot that I would like to ask him, but unfortunately, time is limited. And I'm also going to challenge him, like I've done with others, that would like to have a 1 hour sit down with him so that he can break it down what Proudly South Africa is about. So that's a challenge to you, CEO. She's been around for quite some time, and she's one of the knowledgeable people in the industry. Sis Judy, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And so I've been around for quite a while. Yes, I've earned the stripes, got the scars, and have all the T-shirts.
I like that. You are now heading Free Women Films.
Yeah, Free Women Films, I've always been involved with this film company, but obviously when I was appointed as the managing director of the South African Broadcasting Corporation, I then withdrew all my directorships from all the companies and focused on my job at SABC. And then subsequently, I went and worked for a couple of multinationals. And then since 2016, I've gone back and I'm very actively involved as the chairperson of the group, as well as one of the executive directors.
What is Free Women Films about?
So Free Women Films is a film company that after the hashtag not in my name, hashtag all the problems and controversies around sexual harassment and gender-based violence in the film industry, we shifted our focus because we are 3 female filmmakers, and we decided then to only work with female directors, other female producers. We do have men who work on our productions, but we've begun to focus almost primarily on the incubation of young female talent. And as women in the industry, again, having come through numerous lawsuits, etc., around inappropriate and improprietal behavior on our sets, we just decided to niche our focus on women in film.
The highs and lows of being part of such a company.
So firstly, our company was the 2024 contender into the Oscars. We were nominated as the South African, our film, which was Music Is My Life, which is not about Ladysmith Black Mambazo, but was around the musical genius of Ubaba Shabalala. And that was the film that was nominated both in the documentary and in the feature film category, the first time in the history of the Oscars. And that was probably one of our greatest accomplishments to date. We have worked on 2 other South African entrants. So The Winter to My Skin, we were consulting producers. We've worked on numerous other big projects. Currently, we have a slate of films, about 10 films that we've been shopping around the world. Some are in pre-production, some are in production. But over and above that, we are a multi-award-winning film company. I mean, for me, 2 of the films that stick out for me. One is The Number, which is based on the life of the gangster Mahadin. And I grew up with Mahadin, and as you know, he was in prison for 27 years. Now, our film was meant to headline at multiple festivals around the world. Unfortunately, the director was accused of sexual abuse and sexual assault, and all the festivals withdrew our film. And that was probably the first time we were really slapped with the consequences of this kind of behavior on set. Again, because of the power of social media, the director was never charged. Not a single woman came forward with an actual case. So his reputation was totally destroyed. We had to reposition ourselves and sort of bounce back with a new vengeance. And I think this is one of the side effects or the unintended consequences of the abuse of social media. Anyone can take to social media and say Judy's a thief, you're a rapist, and you are then tried on social media without a single case going to court. And the other film, so I grew up with Magedin, and the other place, which is my cultural birth heritage, is Graaff-Reinet, and we did the award-winning film on Robert Mangaliso Sobukwe, Izwalethu.
Wow. You know, you spoke about the number. It was one of those movies that I thought were going to take over, you know, when it came out. And there was big noise around it. And it's a great movie. And like you just mentioned, I kept on asking myself, what happened? Because the noise was like, and then suddenly it disappeared. Sadly so, but it's still a great movie.
And the challenge around the film is that we had designed an integrated social impact study because of the issues that the film deals with. You know, you can be picked up on the street by a cop, you can be innocent, you're thrown into a cell, and your life changes. If you don't have money for bail, if the cops don't like you, they can beat you up. So the messages in the film remain as powerful as when we made the film. The messages remain as powerful when I was a 16-year-old 50 years ago on the Cape Flats when gangs controlled everything. And the film, we push all the time to see if we can use the film to promote a safer culture in the definition of what is masculinity. What defines a man? What makes a South African man a man today outside of drugs and violence?
I'm glad that you mentioned the brutality of social media, and I would also challenge you one day to have a movie that also talks about the brutality of social media, how it can build and destroy.
Well, I'm just reminded about a film that is riveting that's on circuit at the moment. It's called Adolescence, where the 13-year-old is accused of murder. And when the police and the school and the community start looking at what's on the screens of young people, 13-year-olds, they realize that they have no idea of what the lived reality is of young boys and girls. And I was talking to some British colleagues of mine and saying, you know, here is a film that's the talk of adolescence today. And yet in our schools in South Africa, there is a stabbing, there is a shooting, the most recent case of the rape of the 7-year-old girl. And that's our lived reality in South Africa. And it's only if, I mean, we make films that have high social value content, but we also realize that the film has got to have legs, it has to travel. And when I designed Love Life many, many years ago, it was, if you can't entertain and educate, it doesn't matter what the material, what the thematics are, nobody's going to listen to you. So if you can craft a compelling story with a powerful narrative, irrespective of the issues, it can bring about social change.
Wow, wow, wow. Your contribution to the creative synergy.
Today, I was asked to come and talk on the power of to talk about soft power and cultural diplomacy in South Africa and in the world today. And of course, as an advocate of film, as a medium to drive a social narrative and to deliver tourism numbers. It was something that I deal with all the time, and I've worked extensively in South Korea. And so I have first-hand experience of witnessing what a country like South Korea has been able to achieve through the use of soft power and what we call cultural diplomacy. And what was very important, the lessons for me in South Korea, was the government invested and used as a strategic foreign a tool in foreign diplomacy. They decided to use culture, and the rest is history. South Korea went from, you know, today you think Samsung or you think LG. These are all the great tech brands. But the Prime Minister would go nowhere in the world without the boy band, the 7 boys, K-Wave, K-Drama, K-Pop, K-Beauty, K-Makeup. All of these are tools to capture the imagination of the world and define the identity of a nation through the use of cultural diplomacy. And I think we have all the tools to deliver. We just do not use it effectively because we, unfortunately, the strength of human connection and collaboration is underestimated in our sectors.
Wow. You spoke about cultural diplomacy. What would be your advice to our government regards the cultural diplomacy?
I think our government needs to first and foremost accept the fact that the creative industry is one of our top contributors to the GDP of the country. They need to fully integrate, embrace, and realize that both the creative industries and tourism is the way of the future. The future is about creativity. Everything, why waste your time on doing things that robots can do? Why waste your time on things that machines can do? To free up our brains, our human capacity to do meaningful work. You don't want our great-grandmothers and our grandmothers worked in factories putting together little plastic packets. That's just undignified work. It pays the bills. But until our government realizes the economic contribution of the creative sector, they will not be able to use the tool of cultural diplomacy to shift the narrative. And where we are in the world today with all the Afro-pessimism, all the attacks on the positions we've taken globally on topics that are of vital importance to promote democracy and human rights, we need to use our tools in the creative sector to change the minds of everyone who is fed misinformation, negative information about our country. And in the end, the black man then becomes the most feared person on the planet because of how the world narrates the identity of the black man. All the murders around young black men all over the world, not just in America, is a testament to the fact that when you see black people on the screen, they're rapists, they're murderers, they're child abusers, they're unemployed. And so we have to shift the narrative so then when my son walks in the streets of Germany, people don't cross the road because they think here's another black kid about to attack us.
Wow. Yo, Sis Judy, Nokweni, yo, free films.
Women films.
Free women, yeah, I'm stunned. And it's 10 minutes, but I feel like it should be an hour. And I'm going to pose a challenge to you to come to our studios for a 1 hour session because there are things that you've mentioned that we need to touch on: the brutality of social media, having to run a film company as women, and also what you spoke about regards the cultural diplomacy. And those are the things that can help shape our industry going forward. Thank you.
I will wait for the invite and I'll be there. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Finally, the man behind the creative Cnergy, Ntate Colin Tlamin.
Hey, Tamufukat.
How are you, my brother?
I'm good. How are you, my brother?
When are you such a genius? Do you know that?
I didn't know that.
Who thinks about this? Who thinks about getting corporate to come and support us as the creative and cultural industries and discuss business?
It's another fellow creative, just like you. So this is a platform for creatives by creatives. We didn't wait for government to create this platform for us, but we did it ourselves. So that's what it's about. It's about us creating meaningful conversations so that we can have regulatory certainty and stimulate investments into the creative economy of South Africa.
The beauty about this event is not government dependent. It's everybody that cares about the creative industry, and that's what excites me. And when I heard about it, I said, aye, Colin, I'm going to gate crash.
And I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did, because it's important to get the word out there for all the creatives in South Africa who couldn't make it to this event to actually know about the conversations we are having. And that's the important job that media people like you are doing. So we have to share all this knowledge. I mean, there's been really important conversations we've had. Yesterday it was the audiovisual sector. Today is the music industry, visual arts, AI. We have tech people here to share with us. We've been having economists, and we've had international investors who've traveled from the UK, Brussels, Amsterdam, and LA to be here to hear more about the potential of the creative economy in South Africa.
You know what's the funniest thing? I always say it's difficult to call white people to a creative and cultural industries thing, regardless of whether it's being done by government or what. And here is calling all. Did you see half the room there? White people.
Well, look, South Africa is diverse, and it's the beauty and the power and our power as South Africans, and which we should embrace. That we are a colorful nation, and we have all these people from different backgrounds, and that's also why we really wanted to have a diverse range of voices, so that we can all put our heads together and find the solutions of how do we take this industry to the next level. Yes, the industry has grown, but it's kind of stagnated a little bit, and it just needs, to be stimulated. And that's what we're doing today by having these critical conversations.
I'm liking the stimulation, but let's get to the real truth, the highs and lows of organizing such a thing. Because don't come and stand here and smile and act like it was easy. Because most have tried to do this kind of thing. It's difficult.
It is extremely difficult. First of all, we've never done an event of this scale in South Africa. Yes, we've done a South African Arts and Culture Showcase in New York last year, and we've hosted other events. But for the creative industry, to try and sell it to brands, there's a little bit of skepticism, is the creative industry attractive enough? Are they serious people, and all of that. But we've dispelled that today, and we've brought back more confidence to the brands that have supported us, and that means we'll do it again and again and again. And it's important to have this type of platform.
And you are not mentioning certain things. You are just being modest about this. We need to say the ministers have endorsed these things and they've graced the occasion.
They have, and we are really pleased with that. And it took a lot of work, to try and pin them down and convince them. And it's extremely important. We had 3 ministries that were invited: Department of Arts and Culture, Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, and Department of Trade and Industry. And why those 3 ministries is because there's major overlaps between these 3 ministries in how they regulate the sector, but they work in silos, and that needs to stop. Even the minister, Gayton McKenzie, this morning actually admitted to it and said, we need to work together as government so that even the industry starts being more united, because that's the only way we can create solutions in this industry.
Me standing next to you, I would say it from the bottom of my heart, people like you need to be protected, because if you didn't exist, this kind of thing wouldn't exist. And what if no one is ready to take over the baton?
Thanks for your kind words, my brother. I think there's so many young people in the room, who are ready to take the baton from people like us. And yeah, we're very fortunate that we are able to partner also with the academic institutions, so University of Johannesburg and the Academy of Sound Engineering. In fact, Academy of Sound Engineering are doing all the sound.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have young people who are listening, and hopefully they will also, take it forward.
I would appreciate if this thing goes on and on forever. And thanks a lot. We had to steal Colin Dlamini from inside the session, and we will try and find a way of getting to convince him to come and have a 1-hour sit down like we did with the other 2 CEOs. And we are going to pose a challenge to him to commit into coming to our studios to discuss this further. And I'm standing next to somebody that's intimidating, the CEO of Brand SA. I was once a board member and I know how strict they are. Good day, CEO.
Good day, Arthur. Good to see you, and thank you for receiving me this afternoon.
Hi, CEO. Please introduce yourself. I know you, but the viewers out there would like to know who you are and why are you here at the Creative Synergy.
Okay, I'm Neville Mikey. I'm with Brand South Africa. And the reason we're here is because the creative sector is a very important sector for Brand SA. We are all about messaging and how we actually portray our country, both domestically and internationally. And the creative sector really helps us amplify the messages across the domestic market as well as the international markets.
There are always complaints that brands like yours are never there for creatives. And I'm one of those people that always say, do your research properly, you would understand that Brand SA could not survive without the creative industry.
100%. I was just saying earlier in the session where I was asked about how we support some of the creatives in our international platforms. Some of the team members were in New York. supporting the G20, some of the meetings, the side meetings, and we engaged with the creative sector to ensure that the creative sector was actually represented there, both at a performance level and entertainment side, to ensure that we don't forget that the sector is there. For us as Brand South Africa, this sector is very, very important for us, similarly to sports, and these tend to always be thought of as the distant cousins. And for me, this is the first cousin. You can't really think of the creative sector as a distant cousin in anything that you do. You have to involve the creative sector. And the more the creative sector is coordinated, united, and organized, the better it becomes for a greater voice and better representation.
Talking about G20, what are the plans for Brand SA regarding the G20? Because this is a very important platform for Brand SA.
Yeah, so with G20, we're focusing on a few areas. One is, of course, the youth sector, very important. So we are collaborating with the youth through Y20. The B20, which is the business sector, very, very critical for us. We're also involved in a number of their work streams to ensure that we amplify the messaging within the economic side. W20, also very important for us, and as well as M20. So W20 is the women one, M20 is for the women, is for the media. And then we have other streams that we're working with several departments, such as tourism, trade, industry and competition, treasury, minerals and energy, arts, sports and recreation, very, very important for us. And then as a last pillar is values 20, because all that you do, you can't do it without entrenching the principles and really ensuring that the values are at the top of the list.
As you were mentioning them, I'm praying, hoping that you'd say Creative 20. Why was that left out?
Under Department of Sports, Arts and Recreation. That's all encompassing within that department. So that's why I didn't even mention others as well within several departments, because there's just too many, as you know, different platforms. But most certainly that sector is within that department. Hence we're here today.
On a lighter note, I always defend people like your Mama Joyce and all these fans that always go to stadiums, and I say to people, this is the only source of Brand SA that we see, not Brand SA as in your organization, but Brand South Africa. The only time we get to see the flags being flown all over when matches are played is through those people. Are you guys thinking of supporting them in the future or what?
So I can't really talk to that, because that's really a prerogative of the department to decide how they handle that. For us, it's about ensuring that we have the right people representing us in different respective platforms. And if the Department of Sports Recreation is short of funds and the sports people or the artists themselves can't go, then we're defeating the cause. The first point of call is to make sure that the artists, as well as those in the creative sector, are present within the market. Everything else becomes an add-on. So that is really my view. For me, the money must go to where the money is needed the most. And yes, everyone as a supporter is important. We're all supporters in our own right, and we can't dismiss the power of that level of support. But critically for me is to make sure the artists are there, or the sportsmen and sportswomen and the athletes are in that specific market. If you miss them, then you don't have a showcase. When the Springboks play, who do you go and watch? We go and watch the play. We want to win as a country. You understand what I'm saying? At the same time, as I'm saying, any level of support that comes, whichever form, I don't speak on behalf of the department, but this is just my view in respect of that.
What would you say were the gains for Brand SA at this event, the Creative Synergy?
I think the biggest gain for us being here is to speak to the sector, because I got an opportunity to hear directly from the sector. Our work is not informed by us sitting in the office. Our work is informed by speaking to the audience that we need to actually represent. We're not representing ourselves. I'm not representing Neville when I cross the border or when I'm in my domestic market. I represent South Africans. So I need to hear from them. I need to hear from the sector. That is why we're here.
Any last words, CEO?
All I can say is coordination is very important. To ensure that the sector is formalized is very, very important. The sector with a formalized form will have a greater voice in influencing policy and influencing decisions taken by government. And thirdly, and most importantly, you'll have the ability and the muscle to actually influence also the financing that goes into the sector. Because this sector, sure, I know the sector because I come from the sector in my earlier years. If you don't invest and if you don't have the capital, you're not going to succeed. And we know the challenges in South Africa. That is where the banking community needs to play their part in supporting the sector. I'm not a bank, but the bankers must do what they need to do best. They must support the sector.
Wow, you heard it for yourselves from the CEO of Brand SA, Mr. Neville. You need to support the sector. Thank you.
Thank you.
AAU ambassador, and Lavina has got a beautiful nickname, aka AI Mom. Why do they call you the AI Mom?
It was something that I inherited a few years ago. I was actually lecturing a few of the African females in the technology space, studying particularly machine learning. And they had a bit of difficulty in terms of pronunciation of my name. And so we came up with AI Mom collectively, and it stuck for years.
Wow, I love it. And I was so excited to stand next to the AI Mom. I even forgot to say hi one more time.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. And you are from AU. They call you the AU ambassador. And I was thinking, as I was about to interview, what does it mean to be an AU ambassador?
Yeah, so particularly it's for the African Union 6 region, which is really talking to the diasporan community. And there's a lot of IP that lives outside the continent. There's a lot of wealth that lives outside the continent, and there's a lot of IP, right? So collectively, what can we do that to help to infiltrate that back into the continent from either recognition of citizenship, which a lot of countries have already started to embrace. Second to that is how can we start putting together a vehicle and allowing the 6th region to become an economic region so that it's effectively contributing to the continent.
Which one is the 6th region?
So it's the African diaspora. So usually Africa has 5 regions: the North, South, East, West, and Central. And now they have, mandate to look at the 6th region and bringing that on board.
And you also spoke about protecting the IP. How are you doing that?
How much of time do you have?
I have a little bit of time to understand this topic quite well.
No, this is quite key, right? When we talk about the creative industry itself, intellectual property is the foundation of it. And the way that I look at it is using both my technological hat and my, public sector hat is you as an artist. If you generate an idea and then utilize AI tools for it, then I think the IP should really sit on your end of the scale. Whereas if you get the AI to generate the ideas and then you tweak that, then that's a different conversation to have. At the end of the day, I always ask the question, what is the commonality? So what is a movie? What is a book? What is, a song? What are all of these things and what do they have in common, right?
How much of the change would you encourage people to make changes when they are doing, manipulating somebody's IP?
So, there's always the foundation of going back to what is ethical inside you. So we know that we're born knowing what is right and wrong, and we understand that fundamentally. So, if something doesn't feel right, just don't do it.
Would you say you are a fan of free use or fair use, and why?
Okay, explain a little bit more.
Okay, let's leave it. Let's leave it. Your contribution to the creative synergy.
So I've been involved with every policy that has been made on the continent from an artificial intelligence perspective, both on a continental as well as in-country level. In addition to that, I've been part and parcel of the Nigerian Creative Arts Industry Bill that was put together and successfully passed. So I think I've had somewhat of an idea when it comes to, what the industry together with the collective voice that is actually needed. In addition to that, I've worked on intellectual property law for a few of the countries. And at the moment, I also sit as an advisor to some of the ministers on the continent. So, it's an active process. I was always seated on the outside, saying that we require more regulation. And now that I'm in it, I really understand both sides of the coin, and I'm here to say that we need to streamline the regulations that are there. We need the regulations to actually start talking to each other. So, for example, how does a data privacy policy actually talk to the creative art industry bill? How does it talk to an AI policy? How does it talk to IP? How do we get an encompassment and a very simple thing that can actually cover a wide stream at the end of the day?
A lot of creatives out there don't really have the money to protect their ideas, and sometimes it takes, rigorous processes for one to register. How are you guys, through policy, planning on assisting those people quicker? We're seeing a lot of young people with great ideas, but they struggle to get those ideas out there till they're either stolen or disappearing, or they just become despondent.
Yeah, this is an age-old problem, right, irrespective of the industry we find ourselves in. And I think this is something that needs to be worked on by all that's in that ecosystem. So if we look at it from a policy perspective or from a governmental perspective, what are we actually doing to make the barrier to market a lot less? Right? When we have to look at, how do we support an entire creative industry? What are we actually doing to unlock that? Are we supporting it with a fund? Is it an impact fund? Is it a sustainability fund? Is it, are we just doing it for a short term with a very short vision, right? But I think, the longitude sort of view of all of this is we have, different politicians coming in and out based on their term. What we do need is longevity of a vision.
Would you say your, I wouldn't even say organization or, whoever you're representing, because I'm not too sure, AU, what would you call AU though?
Well, the African Union is really the embodiment for the 55 member states across the continent, and it's there as a guidance to all 55 member states in terms of the things that, the directions we should be going in, right?
So would you say that you work in conjunction with departments, and do they listen to you or not? Because as much as you are in a continental structure, but are you able to have that kind of influence, or you have to go through the African Parliament first, or?
Yeah, it is structured, unfortunately. And these are barriers that we're looking to seriously, remove, because technology is moving at such a pace that, you go to bed today, you wake up tomorrow, and life's changed completely. And there's a new tool that you've got to all of a sudden figure out, if not at least 5 new tools. So based on the rapidness of that, I think, within our own structures, we need to really sit back and think, how can we streamline that structure so that we can adapt to the, the movement that is actually happening on the ground.
Having participated here at the Creative Cnergy, what would you say is your take going back to report to your bosses?
Yeah, one is that we need to start taking a very holistic approach to all of this. We need to start supporting it because it is a large contributing factor. I know that part of the African Union, there's a lot of different initiatives that we've got on the table for next year that's happening. In terms of what is putting together a charter as an example for the creative industry, but I think locally homegrown, it's also how do we help to structure a creative arts industry bill as an example, that is supportive of the work that is being done. In addition to that, I think the last bit for me is how can we start allowing creatives to cross-culture their work, right? Because there's still something that we're missing in terms of the uniqueness of who we are. right? We still seem to be very siloed and boxed in our approaches, whether we say we're creative or, we policy or, whichever end of the spectrum we're sitting at. And I think that's the barriers for me that really stand out.
Thanks a lot. It was great talking to you. There's a lot I need to ask you. Maybe we should arrange an interview where we sit down for 1 hour and you just break it down nicely. Because I feel like I might be representing people, but knowing too much, and I need to take it a bit slow. Thanks a lot.
More than happy to honor that.
Thank you.